approach is a little bit different. It's still making sure people know me, but I want to make sure that people that actually matter know me. And I'm not saying this to do with disrespect to all the beginners. We've all been there. But what I find is like, my Facebook feed is essentially, filled out with the same sort of post, very similar, doesn't really add much to it. Obviously, it gets some sort of engagement, but on a, on a larger scale, like it doesn't really do much for me. Learn how to provide value, because it's not just about posting just so people see you. It's actually about providing value.
Today we have the Remote Boys on the show. Instantly, this already feels like a super chill episode because you guys have such a laid back energy. And I'm really excited to pick your brains about some things because there are so many things around high ticket sales and leadership and all of this that I talk to myself about like a psycho. Like I literally will turn on my voice recorder and just like talk out loud because no one in my life cares to hear about this. So I am so excited to talk about some of the nuances in the high ticket space. I know you'll each have unique perspectives to share. So I'm embracing the opportunity to have a roundtable discussion moment. So as always, the goal is to provide as much value as possible to the listeners. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show.
Pleasure to
Love
be
it.
here.
Yep,
Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely.
First on the docket, I want to talk about conversational flexibility because sometimes I get prospects where I'm just like, oh gosh, I have to deviate from my process for one reason or another. Maybe they throw me a major curveball in the beginning or something. So I'm curious for you guys, when this happens, how do you guys deviate from the process or how do you handle it? I guess Sam, maybe you can go first. Oh, Sam Seindorf.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, for my offer, this is definitely the case because we're basically there to triage and close our own calls. So, like, people come in from any and all angles. Um, I don't, I'm trying to think of a specific example, but I know that it's why we're taught to use frameworks instead of like actual scripts. If I'm being sold something, I really don't want to feel like I'm just being walked through some sort of script.
With conversational flexibility, the way I like to imagine it is, if you go bowling, and you stick to a script, that's basically like having the rails up. You know you're always going to get something, right? You'll always hit a pin. You might not always get a strike, but with conversational flexibility, it's like throwing the ball down the court or whatever it's called with the ramps down, and you have to kind of stay in the lines. No, I do follow a process because it's like staying within the lines, but it's been able to have that I guess confidence in yourself of knowing your process and knowing that you're able to, go here and then maybe go over a little bit here without needing to actually follow the script word for word.
hmm Yeah, makes sense. Sam G, you got anything for
Yeah,
us?
I absolutely love that, because it doesn't typically happen with many people. It's just like, I guess, business owners or people that are in sales. And if it's those people, I just play it up to like, okay, dude, this is perfect. Literally gonna make me, it's gonna be so much easier for both of us because I can just ask you those direct questions, right? Obviously, don't want to jump on the call and just go through the script, right? And I still follow the framework, still go through the same stuff, except it's a little bit different. Obviously, active listening, what Jimmy Hayes always comes back to, it plays a part into it, but I would say like typically for most people, like we're not talking salespeople, business owners, most of those I'll still stick to it, reframe it a little bit, say, okay, well, listen, like in terms of like actually making sure we can help you, I just want to make sure we, take this off and take this off. But for salespeople, I just go straight to the point, asking stuff such as like, okay, like what is the urgency with something like this? And stuff like that. Just breaking that fourth wall. But this is only like typically when I see it. And even if they try and, I guess, interfere into that process, I would just say, kind of bring it back to their own process. And it's like, well, you understand that the process is there for a reason, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing like ultimate respect for your process and just calling it out if someone is like basically asking you to deviate from it, just be like, no, like it's here for a reason.
Yeah.
That's something that I was afraid to do for a while, especially with type A people. Because yeah, it's like it feels like, oh, I got caught. but have enough respect for your process that you can out posture the person and be like, well, yeah, like this is what it is, and it's either you play ball or you can hit the little red button and peace out, you
Yeah,
know?
because if you don't have the process, then like you can end up in the weeds and you talk about something that's completely irrelevant just for the sake of having a conversation. And you waste like 45 minutes of your time, and it's like, okay, well, what happened? Nothing. You didn't help the person, and
Yeah,
get to their goals.
the worst thing is literally like they waste their time and we waste our time just by deviating through the process, because it's literally there for a reason. I'm not saying maybe the script, right? But the framework is literally there for a reason, to understand, okay, like what is it that they want to commit to? Why is it urgent now? Like why do they want to make, the sacrifices, etc.? What are the advantages if it works? What are the disadvantages if it doesn't? And kind of like if they don't make any changes. Most important thing, if someone goes through that process with me, I'm super respectful because I understand like this is what drives me. Sometimes I need to be asked questions for myself to even realize what's really driving it. And until Bill was mentioning, like we should actually go through the nose stuff with ourselves, right? Like they have that deep conversation, and that really helped me, I guess, put a lot of pieces together. Because I was just sometimes thinking, well, future based seems a little bit manipulative, all that stuff, like you're gonna, building this up. But it's like, well, not really, because this is like when you believe in a product, you can get that person to that certain level, and what would it actually look like for them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important that they see, taste, and believe that their goals are actually possible. Along those lines of kind of, I guess, keeping people in line, something that I run into sometimes is I'll get a prospect on a call who they give me so many red flags, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have so many mindset things that I need to handle before I even go into pitching them. So that way they do have the best chances of being successful, even if it's not with us or our company, but like just in life, like I want to help them. So when you have that happen, I mean, how do you guys handle that? Because there's a fine line. We don't want it to turn into a complete coaching session, but if we just kind of ignore the red flags and pitch, we're not helping them either. So curious how you guys walk that line.
If you guys don't mind, I'll go first, because I used to do it a lot. I used to go and jump on sales calls just from the coaching side. The biggest thing is that those people rarely ever take that coaching to their heart. Like they just almost like always agree with it. They understand it, but they don't treat it as, like something that they will actually do. Because many times I actually had people, told them, look, this is what you should be doing. Like this is the beginning. Like this probably isn't the best step for you moving forward or whatever. If it truly wasn't, right? But then give them the steps that they can actually accelerate the process and actually level up to be successful, get to the North Star. I just found myself wasting time. So I guess like my approach now is like my job is not to coach. My job is, I guess, not to hard sell either. It's to literally connect the two, right? Which is like, okay, like do I have a service that can get them to where they want to go? Cool, I'll get them in. But if they just have so many of those red flags, I'll try and reframe it a little bit. I'll try and challenge that perspective, obviously respectfully, and make sure that whatever I'm saying that to them, that they actually understand is like, well, you're just not agreeing with me. I got it from Christian Jack. You're just not agreeing with me just to be polite, right? Like you actually need it. So just kind of taking it from that perspective shifted my kind of I guess idea how I run the sales goals more into like, okay, like less coaching, because first of all, not getting from the egotistic standpoint, not getting paid for it. The other side is there's people, some of them do take some of that advice, but majority of them just don't.
So do you pitch them then? If they have a lot of like mindset blocks, let's say?
Uh, if I can reframe them, and if I truly feel like, okay, like these things that you had in the past, like, and they truly own up to it, and like there's a big enough reason why they want to do it now, I'll pitch them. Like if I feel like this can work for them, 100%. But if I
Okay.
feel like this is just like, oh, I was never able to make it. I tried hundreds of things. There was and there was like actually successful people within like, each one, every one of them, and they just don't take any responsibility. I would just say maybe keep them for like a nurturing process, challenge that. If I'm not able to challenge that, probably not want to pitch them, because they're just not going to be, I'm not trying to put them into a certain bracket, but most likely they just wouldn't be a good prospect. But I'm open
Curious,
to having that challenge.
curious to know, Princess, what are some of the red flags you actually look out for in terms of your mindset?
If someone truly does not believe that even making 10K a month is possible, like we need to work on that, because what's the point? Like,
Mhm.
yeah, if they really don't believe it, that's a big one. Another one is if they have tried a lot, they're a tire kicker, so they've tried a lot of things, they've failed, i.e. they quit, and they're kind of blaming and putting responsibility on everyone but themselves. It's like, okay, we
Yeah.
need to talk about this.
Do you not pitch them then? Like, let's say it's the same scenario where, they just refuse to take any responsibility and they're just looking for a quick fix. Like, and I'm not saying quick fix like 6 months, 12 months, like 2 months. And I want to be, despite never making that much money, but I want to be there in 2 months.
Yes, I wouldn't. So, I had a guy actually like 2 weeks ago. He was like, "Yeah, I don't know about full on coaching. Like, if you could just like tell me what to do, maybe 1 or 2 day coaching session, like I'm all set." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, no, like that's not how this works. You don't get to your business from like 0 to 6 figures with like 2 sessions. If only it were that easy." So I sent him away. He was not happy, but dude, no.
Yeah,
You're just doing the service and the business of the service. So good on you.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah, something I've actually had to learn in recent months is that like even if the person even if the person has, they're ready to go, they've got their credit card in their hand, they really want this, but their expectations are like way like off the charts, don't bring them in.
No.
Because fulfillment team will not be happy. you know there was a guy I had to turn away who literally credit card in his hand, he's like, take my money, and I was like, no, because he wanted to take his business to 1 million in 3 months, and he was doing less than 20K a month. He wanted to make 1 million in revenue, and he felt like, I guess maybe our VSL was just that good, but he felt like with our process he could. But I'm like, you can't. With no, you would have the amount you'd have to spend on like ads, for example, would be egregious, and he's not willing to do that. So it's like, okay, no. So
Yeah, that's something with expectations. I'm kind of me and Sam experienced on our offer, because marketing says one thing and people are on the call, oh, I can make 10K in like 90 days. And it's like, no, you can't. You'll be lucky to get to like 3 or 4K in 90 days, like very lucky. If you want to get to 10K, it's going to take you like a year, possibly even 18 months, right? And when you actually say that on the calls and you just be upfront with people tend to respect it quite a lot more, I found, because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're actually having an honest conversation with me and you're not just trying to take my money, and because there was times when I first got started and I wasn't actually doing that. And oh yeah, you can make 10K in 90 days, and then the 90 days comes around and it's like, the VSL says one thing, we say another thing, and it just causes a lot more headache for you as a sales rep on the actual call later on down the line. And then it starts to affect your conviction, because when people are messaging you saying they're not getting the result, but like you can mitigate that at the front end by just saying, hey, this is the expectations, you're going to get to 10K or whatever the goal is in X period of time. Realistically, is that something you still want? Or if it's not, look, we can just end the call here now. And typically with that, I find people are they actually tend to open up more, I find.
I think that's something that doesn't get touched on enough, because my reason for it was like literally I was closed into so many offers that, like, look, I just wanted to have like a genuine conversation, like what's realistic, not saying like being pessimistic, but it's like what is the actual steps needed to actually get me to the point where I wanted to go. If it actually takes 3 months, that's amazing, right? But if it takes you 12 months, then I would reconsider it. I would be appreciative, like, okay, like I understand, like to get me to that point, which I suppose in that client's prospects mind, I've never been. This is only fair. And then like they come in and they put in the work that, like 3 months in, you don't get that 10K, you're discouraged. Like we've been in programs that have that, and the what's it called? Churn rate is crazy. Like we're speaking 90%. Right? In the high 90s, right? And I feel if you lay the foundation for like the expectations and say, look, I mean, this can happen and can absolutely happen. Look at these guys. But in terms of actually getting to this point, like it's not gonna be that smooth, right? Like you're gonna have to take a lot of challenges, etc. You're gonna have to level up, and then within X amount of months, this is what we typically see.
Yeah. It's one thing getting the close, it's another thing keeping the close.
Yeah.
Yes, 1,000,000%. Because if you set the expectations way too high, you overpromise, people are gonna, one, they're not gonna trust you, they're not gonna trust the company. That person's more likely to leave a bad review. And then you're gonna have to talk them off the ledge later when they want to get a refund because, yeah, they didn't get what they came in for.
Yep. I have so many people asking me on my calls, at least with how my offer is structured, like guaranteeing job placement. Like that is probably one of the most talked about things. And I have to just let them know that like I have yet to meet a company that actually can guarantee you a job. No matter what you do, just hand you what you need on a silver platter, even if you didn't even do the work. And so some people will be able to fall in line with that and understand where I'm coming from, and then others won't. And I'll just be like, well, I'm sorry, then we're not the company for you. And I wish you the best of luck trying to find somebody that actually does somehow actually fulfill on that.
So on the other side of it, like um, let's say when it comes to like after you've pitched that you felt like they were a good fit, you pitched them. Is there ever a time where you feel like, okay, it's actually better to let this person go and book a follow-up call rather than trying to close them on the call?
It was when I clearly understood that this person is not the breadwinner, they barely have any money. I still go the real responsibility, etc. But leaving them the space, what I found was best because that left the other half feeling kind of like, okay, like this person obviously makes the money, and like this whoever sales guy will, whoever they want to introduce me, has been cautious of that, like thought of it, and wants me to include me in that conversation. On those calls, like I think I only had one that I lost, but like I think it's like in the 80s, 80% close rate on those follow-ups.
I probably agree with Sam there because I do try close them on the call, because look, most cases once they jump off the call, you're never really hearing from them again. It's just hopium, hoping they come back. But there has been some cases where I've actually had like a pretty good conversation. They seem bought in, but it just might be like this one logistic thing, or like something might pop up that's not like a typical objection. And then just based on that because based on the conversations, like okay, I have like my guts telling me that they'll come back, and I've actually closed like a couple of deals where they've actually came back like the next day or 2 days later, and like they said they would. But that like just comes down to gut feeling and on the call because sure you can go through the process and you can try objection handling them and like you can spend maybe 30, 40 minutes and possibly burn them or get them in, or based on I guess how the last hour has went and you feel like okay they've been genuine here, then I might try loop them once or twice, and then instead of to keep going and going and going and eventually piss them off and then they go for another company, I'll kind of just go with my gut and say, you know what, let's just book in a follow-up or whatever the conversation is.
I've had a few people where my EQ was telling me that I'm actually doing them a disservice if I really push them because they just can't give me a yes today. It's like, why try to get a yes from someone who can't give you one, for whatever reason. So sometimes it's finances or sometimes it's like mindset. They're just not there yet.
Yeah.
Some people will, and this is just like me too, because before getting into this whole online space, it took me a year of nurturing and marketing from these gurus and whatnot, people I look up to finally come around to the idea of even investing in myself. And so if it took me a year of marketing through YouTube and Instagram and all that kind of stuff to even come around to making that decision finally, sometimes you meet people when they're right at the start of that journey. And it's like, who are you to think that you can just reframe somebody in 30 minutes, something that took me a year to finally come around to doing?
That's a really good point. Yeah, sometimes I think we don't think about that side of it, like the marketing, the nurturing side. I do think about that more and more now. But I also I feel like my do I want to call it a disadvantage? Whatever. So I'm a really easy sell. I've always been. My very first sales call ever, I closed 10K, like piff, all my savings, like didn't have to objection handle me or anything. So for me, my perspective sometimes I'm less patient. I'm better now, but for a while I was really impatient with people who I'm just like, why, like this is exactly what you need. What else? Like, what do you need? Like, stop being a baby, you know? But I do understand that people do need multiple touch points, especially if they've never invested that much in themselves. We do
Yeah.
need to be understanding of that, but also be the leader who tells them the things they need to hear, and just really feel it out. I think EQ is a big part of walking this fine line.
That goes back to what we were talking about right at the start. That whole
100%.
conversation. Yeah, that whole flexibility.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
totally. For you guys, I'm curious, like, what was the most challenging thing for you when you got started in the high ticket space? And what's the most challenging thing for you right now?
Most challenging thing for me when I got started was, why is the script not working? You know, reading the script, following the script, what I was told to do, and it's like I was losing sales call after sales call after sales call, and I was like, "Fuck, what's not working here?" Like I'm watching the videos, I'm following the process. Where's my 10K? So that definitely was at the start, and I realized that I was just following the generic Alex Hormozy script that was online that you can download online. So that was the most challenging thing to me because I didn't know what I was doing. Just watching bits and pieces of, Jeremy Minor, Alex Hormozy, Cole Gordon, anyone I could find on YouTube to kind of give me that like level I was looking for until I actually invested in a proper coach and got that proper training that took me to where I wanted to go. And I guess right now, the challenging thing for me is just the volatility of my offer. Because as Sam knows, like 1 week it's great and you're talking to people who are super bought in, they've went through everything, they know it. And you actually have a conversation, and then the next week it's like you're talking to such like I don't want to say idiots, but they just don't
Yeah.
get it, right? They don't get it, and then I find that right now it's kind of with my offer. I'm objection handling people and trying to deal with people for like $50. Right. And now it's like, okay, is this even worth my time? Because like they can only get on the very lowest payment plan. And it's like, even if I help this person and I get them out of their own way and they get in, like they're not going to make payment number two, or payment number three. So they're going to come in, I'm going to take, $1,000, $500 off them. They're going to be down and they're not going to get to the result, and like no one's going to be happy. So that's kind of where I am now with the most challenging things.
I'll jump in. For me, I'd say my biggest problem was I almost didn't even want to take my sales calls when I started out. And there were a lot of factors in play there. Um, I found my biggest roadblock was just the fact that I realized that I didn't actually even believe in the thing I was selling.
Mm.
So, and I didn't know that because it was my first offer. Um, and also like the person that was teaching me back then, in my opinion, like I feel like I could have definitely had a better coach. Um, and so I just didn't know better. Um, so fast forwarding to now, I think that's resolved because I can actually ask people for the money that it requires to work with us because I know that we're going to give them a massive return on their investment. Um, but I think my problem right now is definitely how long my calls are. So I definitely want to learn how to really cut the fluff out and get straight to the point, not in a rigid fashion, but learning how to, with each prospect, ask the right questions like at the right time. So
Yeah. Where do you think the fluff is? Is it in discovery or like in on
easily.
pitch? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And I think a lot of it comes down to like I'm again, there's no like good setter talking with them before I'm talking with them. I'm the person that's talking to them from start to finish. So it's all on me. That's the thing I'm realizing. So
Stick to the process, the framework, and just like tactfully interrupt. I have a feeling that might be a thing too, right?
that too.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That can be
Easily.
so hard sometimes to, especially, we never want to feel like we never want the person to feel like we're being rude. But what I've noticed is that when we do tactfully interrupt, people actually respect you more. because you're making the most out of the time that you have and you really value your time. So I keep that in mind with talkers.
For me, I think what it was at the beginning and what it was throughout the next couple of months is at the beginning, it was hard for me to understand how to get on offers, etc. Because my understanding of this space wasn't like, you speak to some 18-year-old that connects you with a 23-year-old that runs like a multi-million-dollar company. That was wild. But then, I learned to know real fast that those offers tend to be very volatile. One of the very first few offers, I had I guess, luck, because there's nothing else but luck to actually get me in the first 3 months of my sales career to get me to 10K. Obviously, look, I had some business skills, I had some, I guess, EQ and psychology that I was studying, not probably paid a lot into it, and just genuine good work ethic. But it was just like understanding, okay, what is the fine line between my skill actually playing to the part where I'm making this much money, and what is the part of this offer just being this good? And it was like an ongoing battle for the next couple of months, because I had the, I guess, not breakthrough, but it was a very valuable lesson of going into one warm offer into the polar opposite. Nothing was in place. The offer owner was saying to the guy that connected me with him, he was making 200K on a monthly basis. There was nothing, like zero, nothing, no funnels, no anything. And I was jumping on calls with people that the ticket price was 6K for something that's completely brand new, no clients, success stories, nothing. So we had to close that. And yeah, long story short, that didn't work well. And I jumped on another offer. It was just a mixture of like, okay, where is my skill set kind of making me this income, and where am I getting hindered by the offer? But now I feel like ever since December, I actually understood, okay, I see how it can fluctuate just with marketing, just like with kind of, having the people come onto our calls, and we can adapt, and we were adjusting. Like Sean can obviously tell more on that, but it's only so much you can do. So that was the like one of the initial challenges. But the challenge I'm facing right now is, I suppose, going from the more on the emotional side, because every sales is still emotional, more on the emotional side, B2C, going into B2B, speaking with, people that are in the 7-8 figures, someone that was spending 400K on dinners and on travel tickets every single month. That tends to be, I guess, intimidating a little bit, but I'm trying to find a fine balance of like, what am I getting into the sales, like, emotional side, or what am I actually going into, those services, like how do I actually sell efficiently in the B2B space? Because that's kind of like the transition I'm going over right now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's so cool to see how with experience your problems change, your challenges
Yeah.
change. The journey is like never ending challenges, never ending growth, never ending transition. I think that's one of my favorite things about the high ticket space is that it can never get mundane, because it's like if you get bored somewhere or like things just get bad, you can just go someplace else and have a completely different experience,
Oh yeah,
right?
it's so fun.
Yeah. Let's talk about treating yourself as a business, because I mean, things are changing, right? Like it's so important now. It's like you're not just a closer, you're not just like a person. I think to be really successful, you do need to look at yourself as a business. I don't know if you guys disagree, but when it comes to marketing and
100%
branding
agree.
yourself, yeah, what's for someone who wants to do that, who wants to market and brand themselves, but they have no idea where to start, what advice would you give them?
Try and stand out. This might be coming from the person that probably has the least, I guess, experience in branding themselves, because my approach is a little bit different. It is different in a way that I try and stick to Bill's approach to it a little bit, still making sure people know me, but I want to make sure that people that actually matter know me. And I'm not saying this with disrespect to all the beginners. We've all been there. But what I find is like, my Facebook feed is essentially, filled out with the same sort of post, very similar, doesn't really add much to it. Obviously, it gets some sort of engagement, but on a, on a larger scale, like it doesn't really do much for me. trying to filter it out so if you actually are beginning into like, branding yourself, I would genuinely suggest like reaching out to Christian Jack, just like following his side of things, learn how to provide value, because it's not just about posting just so people see you. It's actually about providing value. And however you provide value, it's obviously gonna, determine how people know you. For example, for me, just gonna go on a little bit of a tangent on this. For me, my approach was to just be known with the right kind of people, because then like the opportunities I had like recently when I was trying to scale down one of my offers, I had 7, 8 offers, and those weren't like, some scammy Imengaji course or something. Those were very serious companies. Some of them were in the B2C, some of them in the B2B. And I have done nothing about, posting myself out there aside from remote boys, which I feel also gives a good advantage to us, because people that want to know us a little bit better, that we see our podcast, they see what we do, etc.
I touch on what Sam would say about standing out. What I think is more important is just like be yourself.
Yeah.
People like people like people. And that's one thing I try to do with my content. Like I just basically post what's in my head. I don't think about it too much. Some people can get so worked up because like an example that's like happening in my life now. My brother is trying to get into this space after seeing my success. 2 hours yesterday he spent worrying about trying to find the right profile picture, or what to put in his bio, and it's like, bro, just do something, right? Just start. That's literally all you got to do is just, you got to start, you got to be yourself. And most important thing, I think, for me really is consistency, right? Because sure, you can brand yourself and you can, I mean, if you have Nike and Nike only put out like an ad once every year or once every quarter, people would soon forget about them. But they're always changing the brand. They're always on TV. They're always, footballers, sponsorships. You always see them everywhere. And the most important thing is just to constantly just put out posts, and like that's how you build a brand, right? People want to know you. They want to follow you. They want to get to know who you are. And then eventually the people that like you will start to come to you. They'll start engaging in your content. But if you're going to spend 2 hours, thinking of a post, or what to say, how to say it, like that's the, what's the word I'm looking for? Analysis paralysis will just eat you up and you won't get anywhere.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Just start. Like for me, I started horribly in this space. Like absolutely, like I was absolute crap. Um, and I still feel like I suck. It's just I suck less. Um, but one thing I look at is comparing myself to my very first sales call that I remember vividly. I am so different now. And the only reason why is because I decided to stick it through and stay consistent for an entire year. Um, I think I'm one thing I see, and it discourages me, and I feel like it may discourage other people. It's you may feel like you're starting at the same time somebody else is, whether you're in a program or what have not, and you see other people getting results quicker than you. Sometimes it's just that they started maybe a little bit sooner than you did in other ways. Because sales is a field where, in my opinion, there's a lot of other things you could be doing in your life that really lead up and position you perfectly to transition to skills and really skyrocketing your performance. Um, and personally for me, I don't feel like I had really those skills to fall back on or to take advantage of. All I had was just my dedication and consistency to get better. I just happened to start later than other people. So I'm not in a position to really give advice on the whole branding thing at all. I just happened to start this year, and I'm just going to see where it takes me next year.
I think you are a great example, though, Sam, of being consistent, because you did that. You challenge yourself to post every single day those intrusive thoughts. I watch them every day. I think it's so funny. But I commend you for being consistent and doing it every single day and holding yourself accountable, because most people would have fallen off by like day 5, you know?
I can't tell you how many times I just want to give up, so to speak. There are just some days where I just don't even want to post because I feel like I don't have anything. But um, I made that promise to myself, and I'm there to fulfill it, just like I have been so far with this whole sales thing.
I want to transition into the rapid fire question segment. I feel like the time has flown so
Yeah.
fast. Wow. I'll ask each person individually so we're not like jumping on each other. And then just respond with the first thing that comes to mind. Okay. So we'll start off with Sean. What are your non-negotiables? So this could be either within your sales process or outside of the sales call, like end of day stuff or beginning of day.
And really with me, it's just having my morning routine. I get up every day at the same time, follow the exact same process every single morning, and whether it's the weekend, whether it's during the week. And I notice if I don't actually do it, I'm off for the whole day. Because I've been doing it now for like maybe 2 years. I've missed like maybe like 2 weeks, 14, like 2, 3 weeks over the whole 2 years. And then when I actually don't do it, it's like I'm just not myself. I'm not there. I'm not present. And yeah, it totally messes with my head.
Nice. Okay. Sam G, what are your non-negotiables? Let's say within the sales call.
Within the sales call. Okay, well, I was preparing for something else. Within the sales call, uh, I have to have the reason. Like, I'm not gonna move forward on the call if I don't understand the reason why someone just wants to do something. So I sometimes make those mistakes of like getting in the way of some people. Seen it especially with successful people, because sometimes you, like Bill said, you gotta get out of their way and just let them go with it. But I just want to understand like what drives them. So sometimes like this is just non-negotiable. I need to understand the reason, like true reason why, and I'll just keep digging until I find it.
Okay, what's your other non-negotiable?
We're speaking outside of the sales call.
Sure.
Yeah. It's what I've seen, and it has tremendous impact on my performance, is when I start the day and I feel rushed. Like I need to be super chilled out for like the first 30, 45 minutes of the day. So just like, I'll just drink tea, I'll just go for like a quick walk or something like this, and make sure that I'm not rushing into anything. I'm not checking Slack, I'm not checking, anything on the business side, I'm not checking messages, nothing like this. That's why I sometimes respond late in the morning, because I just don't touch any technology, anything that is, making me focus on the work. So I feel then I'm just like, oh, it's performance, you gotta perform. And that sometimes clouds my judgment, especially on the sales side of things.
Yeah, that's solid. That takes a lot of discipline. So congrats. Kudos to you.
Appreciate it.
Sam Steindorf, I have another question for you. If you could meet your future self, let's say 10 years into the future, so that 2.0 version of you who's already quote unquote made it, what would you ask him?
Are you married?
Oh,
That's what I
wow.
would ask. That's what I would ask him. Yep. Yep. I don't know what else to ask him other than that. That's pretty much it. So
Do you want him to be married?
I don't know. That's my curiosity. That's the thing.
Interesting. I feel like that says a lot about things, but we don't need to get into that now. We don't have enough time. So, Sean, what's your biggest pet peeve in the high ticket space?
Um, them networking calls where you see people say, "Hey, just had a great call with Princess," and they literally, because I see them all over my newsfeed now. I
Same.
can't go a day without seeing like at least 3 or 4, and it's like, just do something else. Like, don't post that. That's really been annoying me lately.
Yeah. Sam G, what's your biggest pet peeve in the high ticket space?
I gotta say it's the same. Like it is the same. I understand networking. Majority of the offers that I've been getting has been through networking, but I've been just doing and putting in the work, making sure that people that actually matter know that I'm solid, and you know, I guess don't care about the rest.
Yeah, let me touch on this because I've been noticing it too, and I think people are kind of getting it twisted when it comes to networking. Yes, like all of my offers and plus all the offers in my inbox, all the great opportunities that are landing in my lap are from people in my network, but it's not because I jumped on calls with a bunch of random people. It's because I'm getting results. I'm talking about my results, and people can say, "Oh, this girl's crushing it. You want her on your team." That's
100%.
that's like the way you should quote unquote network is just do the work, get the results, do the thing, and then you will land the best opportunities.
I would like to add on that as well. Like when you want other people to notice you out there, I had this guy that I like. This is the only guy that his name was Stefan. I forgot his last name, my bad. But I gave him some feedback a couple of months ago because he first saw like my success story interview for like the first program. Um we can get into that later. But he was asking like how to do it, like how to get into this space, and he actually took that feedback. And then what he started doing is he was just posting his work. He wasn't posting wins. Like sometimes he was posting wins, but he was just consistently every single day posting the work that actually gets him forward. Because reaching out to people, having amazing conversations kind of get you there, sure, but it's not tangible. It's not really the actions, and sometimes all it takes is just to get on a shit offer, work your ass off there, make sure you're consistently learning something, make sure you're consistently putting in the work, and people notice. Like I noticed that stuff, and like when I first my buddy Casper was looking for sellers, like that's who I'd want to be connecting him with.
Yeah, and people always ask me as well, like, do you have any killers in your in your circle? Who you have any other closers in your community who are crushing it? Like refer me, and I'll refer people. But I'm not going to refer people who are sliding into my DMs asking if I know somebody. Closers, I mean, I'm not going to refer closers who are just asking me for a role when one, that's the first time they've ever spoken to me, and two, I don't see anything. Because when they ask me for, if I know any companies looking for someone, first thing I do is I look at their page to see if they're posting any results. And if I don't see anything, it's like, why would I refer you? I don't know if you're actually able to close. So
And then you tarnish your name,
exactly. And I will
that
not refer
relationship.
anybody who's not actually showing that they're like producing results. Because when I refer somebody, like people are like, okay, yeah, this person knows what they're doing. So yeah,
Your business.
exactly.
Treat it like one. Focus on your
Exactly.
fulfillment first, and then start reaching out.
Exactly. Amen. Poetic snaps. Sam Steindorf, if you could sell anything, Mr. I need to believe in my offer, which we all feel this way as well. But if you could sell anything in the world, what would it be and why?
I'm trying to think. It's
Anything, like you could sell yachts and private jets and castles. Like, dude, the
I
first thing that comes
know.
to mind is like yachts because they're expensive and all the buyers, they're all qualified.
Yeah, I gotcha. I think the private jet industry is something that definitely interests me. So I don't know what goes into it, but it just sounds cool. So
It's probably a very long sales cycle. They're going to be like, well, I need a year to think about it.
exactly. Yeah. Or maybe it's quick. We're not in the shoes of prospects like that yet.
I think I would want to dip my toes into that one day, like selling. I don't know about jets, just because I know that it actually is costs. It's more affordable and it's smarter to not buy it, to rent it. So because I know that, I think I would have a hard time actually selling it. But
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
it's really a lot more affordable to rent it. I only know this because one of my friends is like renting a private jet for his birthday. No big deal. So anyway, Sean, if you could sell anything, what would it be?
I'd like to be in mergers and acquisitions. I'd like to
Ooh,
sell companies for millions, because that's actually the first thing I tried to do when I worked online. Was me and my brother, we tried to start a mergers and acquisitions company. So we did it for like a year. We actually had two companies in LOI, and we were doing due diligence on them. The only reason why we didn't get across the line because I was 22, he was like 27, and we couldn't get funding from any companies because we were like just two kids. But that's definitely where I want to go with my career is sell companies for millions or just at least broker the deals.
that's next level. That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
What about you, Sam G?
Feel like I'm gonna get judged for it, but like if we're being genuine, I would love to get into the um what do you even call it? Military industry complex. Just sell weapons, sell tanks, sell those what are they called?
Weapons of
Uh
mass destruction. Okay, Sam G.
no, but like
Okay,
military equipment,
right.
like that's where the technology is, and that's where like billions are. I'm probably gonna say for like that's if I believed in it, but it's hard to believe in there's like being ethical even. I like heard bunch of stories about that. Like it's like even getting your way to be in the sales position there. It's a lot of shady stuff, so probably not. But if I could, like I'd love to sell that.
Interesting. Really cool. I'm so glad I asked you that. That's just like way outside the box, but imagine that sales call. So, you know,
Oh, that'd
like,
be fun.
do you know what you're looking for specifically in terms of building your weapon arsenal? And then they'll be like, yeah, I just want to take over the world, you know,
Jungle
future
audio
pace.
call.
Yeah,
Perfect.
pretty
We've
much.
we've the perfect nuke just for that.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Well, let me know how that goes when you do that because I'm really curious.
I'll try it.
So every week, guys, I do a challenge of the week. I want to challenge the listeners to do something to move the needle forward, to actually take action. So what can you propose? Whoever jumps in first gets to take the challenge.
That
Spark it.
thing you know you've been putting off that you really want to do, you just are unsure, like you're literally on the fence on maybe how people are going to react to it, those close to you, your friends, your family, those other high schoolers maybe in your life that you grew up with. If you're afraid of how they're going to react to it, honestly, that should be a reason to do it. And the reason why is because like they are going to react probably, but given time, it's not really going to matter.
That's solid. And that's so true. Like no one actually cares. The things we stress
Yeah.
about, like, oh my gosh, what if someone I went to high school with sees me post something and tried to brand myself and then they make comments? It's like, so what? Literally, who cares? Like
Yeah.
no one's checking for you that much. You know, and if they are, they're probably a hater, in which case that means they'll also be like your biggest fan lurking in the shadows. So that's that. So thank you so much for proposing that challenge. I think it's very appropriate timing for that kind of challenge because with this, you know, the space changing and people starting to brand themselves more and people also kind of networking and being on this hamster wheel going nowhere, I think that's we need a wake up call like people. If you're going to
Yeah.
put yourself out there, do it, but do it the right way as well. So thank you. That being said, that's all I've got for you guys today. If you haven't already, please rate the episode whether you liked it or not. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can also subscribe to the podcast on whichever platform you're listening on so you don't miss the next episode. And Remote Boys, of course, where can they find you?
At least for the moment, straight away on YouTube. So that's the
Awesome.
easiest way to spot us.
Yes, I will link their channel in the description. Thank you guys so much for listening. And as always, don't forget to hold yourself to a higher degree so you can be the most effective leader you can be. Until next time, bye guys.